So we're here today with a Bronica S2, okay? Pretty nice camera if you're unfamiliar. Bronica is a Japanese company that made medium format camera systems. They utilized Nikkor lenses from Nikon. It is very similar in some ways to Hasselblads. They've been likened to the cheap Hasselblad in the past, although there is a substantial difference, being that this is not a leaf shutter operated camera system. This is just more of a SLR modular system. Your shutter speed control dial on the S2 is on the side here, and given the fact that it is a cloth shutter as opposed to a leaf shutter, you're able to obtain fast shutter speed of 1/1000th, which is impressive. Hasselblad, so far as I know, do not do that. They pretty much cap out at 500. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The other way you can kind of tell, I mean, look at this. I think that looks cool. But the lens is just a lens. It's not a shutter system in here. It is just a lens. You can see right through. You can even, in fact, see potentially my Bronica in the back there. But this Bronica, like I mentioned, came in with a couple of issues, one of which I was able to fix relatively easily-ish, and I don't really know quite how, but I'm going to walk you through the issue. And if you're having the same problem, maybe this can help you. And then we'll talk about the strap lugs because Jesus Christ. Anyway, the Bronica is a very simplistic system, especially this one. It is mechanical, which I love, and it's really kind of clever in a certain way. So like a lot of camera systems with interchangeable backs, there is a kind of separate control mechanism that has to do with the linking of the back to the camera. We're getting a little bit of a J.J. Abrams like lens flare. I apologize, but I do need a bit more light on here because I think when I recorded this previously it was kind of dark. So hopefully you can see this okay. So this is charged and ready to fire, I believe. Nope, it's not. So watch as I advance. You'll see all of the things that are moving, maybe. I'm trying really hard to get my hand out of the way. I'm not doing a great job. Anyway, so as I fire, this is what happens. And as I advance, this is what happens. We see a whole lot of gear movement, a whole lot of stuff. The shutter is advancing there and clicks into place there. Fires, good to go. So, cool stuff. We're going to charge this and we're going to set this aside. Now we're going to talk about the film back because it kind of exists as its own entity to some degree. If you have a modular medium format camera system, you can obviously pick up a couple different film backs that you can then use to load with different film stocks. If you want to shoot black and white, color, if you want to shoot different speeds, you can use a multiple of different film backs, slap it on and be good to go. Now, this film back, most Bronicas, I believe, have the interchangeable component of a 12 count or 24 count. Back in the good old days when 220 film was more common. Now we live in the dark time with only 120. So there's a little toggle right here. You press in on this button and rotate it around to 12 or to 24. We're going to leave it on 12 because, like I said, these are dark times. And then you have your frame counter right here. Now you have a couple of other things too, like this little dial, which is kind of like a winding dial, which we'll get to in a minute. You have a memo slot, which is nice, and you have this, which is your dark slide. The dark slide is important because otherwise you are not able to remove the film back from the camera. I'll show you that in a minute. Now we're going to kick the memo slot up, and from there we are going to open the back. Now don't do this if you have film in here, but I'm going to do this because this is not film, it is just backing paper. How I just removed that, there's these two little tabs, and you grab and squeeze in on them. You'll notice that that moves these little deals in. Spring loaded, so it's a very fun little fidgety thing you can do. Good stuff. I'm going to quickly rewind all the film into here because the previous time I made this video, I tried to do it outside of the back and it just made a lot of noise. But this is basically what it looks like when you're shooting through a roll of film. Look at all that money you're spending. This is what the gearing looks like. This is what advances your film. It's a whole thing. Good things, good times, good stuff. Okay, when you're loading, you want to make sure you mess with this as much as possible. especially if you're recording audio, because it will ruin all of your audio because it sounds very, very loud. It's like a cat toy. This is your take-up spool, and then we're going to take this new roll of film and we're going to load it in to here. Now from here, you're going to take this little like tongue thing, lip thing, I don't know, however you want to call it. We'll kick it all the way up around here, and we'll stick it in that little slot right there. At least that's how I do it. And then from here, I like to kind of feed it in, make sure it bites, and then just do a little rotate. Now, this is not going to have the thing that you need to have, but there's usually like a little like arrow system, and you want to make sure that that arrow lines up with that red thing there. And once you have that all done, you will put it back into this. You want to make sure it sits flush, and then these click back into place, like so. And then you kick this up, and you close it, and you close that, and you're happy. Everything is good and dandy. Frame counter will reset to 0 as soon as you open up the back, and then from here you can turn this until it gets to the 1, but we're not going to do that. What we're going to instead do is I will talk about how I think that this issue happened, maybe, and then I'll try to replicate it, but I couldn't last time because it works now, so that's cool. Don't know what I did, but I worked some kind of voodoo magic, and now everything works, except for the stuff that just fell off into my hand, which that's cool. That's what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted. Okay, just holding that into place there. We're going to take this film back and put it on the camera. Notice these two little like things there. I don't know what you'd even call this. Little like arms, you know, little Oliver Twists going on. Please, sir, give me more film. So we're going to take that and line it up into those two little holes right there, like so. I'm doing it very exaggerated so you can see. Then we're going to click it into place. When that clicks into place, that's going to kind of kick this little dark slide out there. So you can now pull this out. Good stuff. If you need to remove the back, you just press in on this. And then from there, that will kind of release the back. So we'll just do that one more time. Put it in, take it out. Put it in, take it off. We'll put it on for now, leave it there. That I had already charged the shutter before connecting the back. And that's great. You can do that. That's all good and dandy. But what issue was happening, you won't be able to fire with the dark side in too. I should mention that. Because now I can fire. And now I will be able to put this back on, where it will stay on and not fall off again. I'm going to load it to the next frame. Now it's at 2. Happy campers. What was happening though, I suspect, is that because the body was charged, the film back was not, it was kind of behaving as though you'd reached the end of the roll, which means that everything is going to be spinning independently of the spacing concern. Basically, how this is set up is as I advance this, it's going to lock out after you charge because it doesn't want you to spin past the frame. There's an internal timing component here with all the gearing that's going to move just enough to advance the film back to the next frame, and then from there it will pause that and then continue to advance the shutter, because those two things kind of work semi-independently of one another, as noted by the fact that when you release the film back via the dark slide, you can pretty much use this camera however you want. You know, watch me. I could shoot a million things, a million of nothing, because you can't really take a picture without a film back on here. I can shoot hundreds of empty pictures before I put the film back on and shoot the next frame. I do think that at some point, due to something, I don't know, maybe something, I just basically was messing around with like this stuff. All I know is that it was kind of behaving as though you'd finished up the roll, and you're going to be winding through this, still advancing in here without any kind of concern for the timing, because when I shoot through the whole roll, which I'm gonna have to do very quickly. So give me 2 seconds while I do that. This is the final frame, frame 12 of a 120 exposure roll. And as I advance to this next one, because this is the final frame, the backing here and the selection here is communicating mechanically to the body, hey, I'm out of film, so we're just gonna wind. We're going to wind. I'm trying really hard so my hand's like just not covering everything, but we're going to wind and wind and wind, because as you might have just heard, we're now trying to take up all of the excess film, all of the excess backing paper of the film roll. And this is the behavior that it was displaying previously, even though the frame counter here was at 0 and it just kind of went through the whole roll of film without actually shooting a frame. I suspect because at some point there was a mislinkage between the body and the film back. But I could be mistaken. The only advice I can really provide is that if that happens to you, fire the camera body, make sure that it's wound properly, reset it to nothing so it's discharged, and then once you're there, take the film back and try to put it in a dark bag, get your film back on to the spool, or wind it all the way through using this mechanism here. So I move this, you're actually doing that. That's kind of cool. But try to get all the film so it's safe, you're not wasting it, and then just try again, I think. I don't know if that's really the solution, to be completely honest. The other alternative is just to kind of fidget around a little bit, mess with this gear a little bit, make sure that this moves, make sure that this is springing out. All of these connection points are very important. Now, one of the things I didn't kind of mention was this system here. I'm going to fire and you might see what I'm talking about. This is your reset. So as you shoot, this sticks out like this, and it will punch into this hole right there, and then that will kick this gear out so you can continue advancing through. That's important-ish to know. Now, anyway, this is all well and good and dandy and fine and great, but how did I get the side panel of this camera off, you might be asking. And truthfully, I can't wait to tell you. It's pretty simple, air quotes. We're going to just put it back on, and I will kind of just ask that you use your imagination to imagine what the opposite of this looks like. But you take this panel, and it sits right here. There are 5 screws. There are 3 flathead screws that look like this, and they go in boop, boop, and boop. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to take that down. Then there are 2 screws that sit here. Boom, boom. And those are much smaller little screws. Hopefully you can even see what I'm talking about. They're very, very tiny. I'm going to take them. And also, I believe all of these screws are kind of non-magnetic. So just don't do this, because they will probably go flying on you, and it will be the worst day of your life. Because you'll hear them, and unless you're a bat or Jared Leto playing Morbius, you will not know where they go. It was an echolocation joke. Also, I know that killer whales, orcas, if you want to call them that, use echolocation. And I think it's worth mentioning that I think orcas are the coolest creatures. For me, at least. I think that they're pretty impressive. You know, there's a bunch of orcas in the southern coast of Argentina that purposefully beach themselves in order to get to sea lions and stuff. It's insane. So we'll take the leather, reattach it with the good old trusty Pliobond, which smells like cat urine. So make sure that you're in a ventilated area, because you don't want to be me and expose yourself to high amounts of Pliobond. in the middle of the night in the Nevada desert when you're driving alone and get egregiously high off of the fumes and start seeing stuff, and you have to drive for another like 2 hours. You don't get to Winnemucca until like 2 a.m., at which point you have such a massive headache that you can't see clearly. Then the next day, you realize that it was the plyo bond that had tipped over in the passenger seat of the car, gotten everywhere. But by that point, you're stuck in a snowstorm in southern Oregon, and you can't roll down the window because all your clothes are in the back of the U-Haul, and you're only wearing a t-shirt that you bought in Las Vegas. It's a graphic tee of the Goonies. So you have to opt for getting incredibly high the following day as you're driving through eastern Oregon, or freezing to death by opening up the window, allowing snow to come in. So you take your chances with the snow until you can't really feel your fingers anymore. Then you roll up the window and realize that it's so bad in there that you pull over at the nearest rest stop and climb over all of your worldly belongings to find a leather jacket to put on so you can roll the window down, air out the car, the gas hot box that you've made with your industrial quart of plyo bond, because it was a little bit cheaper than getting a little vial of it that would not have spilled over. And thus, your car smelled like glue for the next 5 months. Anyway, that is put on there like so. But anyway, not that that's happened to me, but that's on here now, just like that. Good stuff. From here, we're going to put this on so the stuff stops falling off. Make sure it clicks into place. And then this is a little bit tricky. I don't actually know how I'm going to be able to show this to you, to be quite honest. But you press in on this, and you have to make sure that this little like brass piece lines up with these 3 holes here. And then there's 3 screws, again, non-magnetic screws, because that would be a little bit too easy. And then they go in there. I'm going to try really hard to do this in a way that doesn't make me loathe existence, but it's probably not going to be great for you guys because you won't be able to see. We're in business, baby. Hell yeah. There are 2 more of those that we need to do. But before we do that, I'm going to do that my own time because it's probably going to be a very long and tedious process. I want to talk about this thing here. We're going to reconnect the strap lug. You'll see there's like a little gap there, and that lines up with that little notch there. So it slides down, holds it into place. Then there is this piece, this little like threaded washer that sits in over here, and it gets tightened on. It's a normal righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. There's 2 little eyelets. You can use tweezers pretty easily to like get that tightened. You can also use a spanner wrench if you have one. I do, but it's like up there and my tweezers are in my hand. So what this does is lifts up on here, and you'll see that it closes that gap. These strap lugs operate as such. As I push this in, it locks into place. You hear that click. Now to take it off, you press in on it and lift up on this little wing thing, and you're good to go. So again, that's in place. Press in, lift up, lift off. Very simple if you know what you're doing, but very difficult if you don't, and I did not at first. But that's how you do it. Good stuff. You don't want to forget this piece of leatherette either, so we're going to apply a little bit of plyo bond to our designated plyo bond Q-tip. That was cool. I like that. I enjoy just putting glue on my desk, especially glue that smells so good. Press in on it, make sure everything is good. Just going to apply these extra screws, and then we're pretty much done. Put the film back on, just so I know where it's all at. And that's some of the basics of a Zenza Bronica S2. I hope this was beneficial for you. At the very least, I hope you got a good chuckle. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it as always. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you all on the next one.